I don't know how to start this. Why hello there, Anxious Cynic back again, and today we're getting to something I've been putting off for about a month, maybe a little over a month, which is the Darkness Wallpaper collab that we had over on the Discord server. If you remember the winter one that we had a while back, but we did another one, and both times it took me forever to get to it and to finally make a video of it. So that's what we're here to do today. Random thumbs up for no reason, I don't know why, but we're going to take a look at some of these submissions. I haven't even gone over them, so this is going to be kind of like an impromptu. We're going to look at them, we're going to review them, and I'm going to try to pick out which one I think is my favorite or something. Okay, so let's hop into it. So the first one we have here is by Elwin the Killer Pumpkin, and I like this concept a lot. It's pretty dark, and I think I'm dead in it. There's like a decapitated guy there, there's like an evil Herobrine or something, and then there's like me right there. So he's got like his little 4K camcorder there, which is an awesome little touch. He looks pretty scared, little frazzled, he's got some blood on him. I would definitely say this really does kind of grasp the darkness theme. Like there's a lot of very dark and disturbing elements here. I like the lighting overall just being like more or less on his face. What I would say is that there could be a little more sprucing up of the lighting in a way, where basically just to add a little more depth to it, because right now it's got kind of a washed out kind of look. There's just like kind of dim shadows in the back and then just kind of plain white light on the main character there, and I think maybe a little bit of a light back there to show Herobrine a bit. Overall, I think this was a great submission though, so good work, Elwin. Now let's move on to the next one. So this one was submitted by username Shadow. As you can see here, we've got the very kind of narrow aspect ratio. Anyone can be a hero. It's very dark, rainy. I like the scope of this one with the custom background sky. It's got a lot of mood to it. Definitely has that darkness theme going on strong there. Kind of reminds me of Batman. Definitely like this one. I wouldn't say there's as much to comment on here because it's a pretty basic scene, even though there is a lot of detail here with the city in the background and all that stuff. But one thing I would say is I don't know if I would include the text on there. I feel like the text is maybe a bit distracting, and the overall image would have more impact if it was just the image. Because without the text, it would leave it more to the viewer to determine like what they're kind of thinking, what the character's thinking, what's going on in the scene. You could maybe include a few more visual elements to kind of allude to the idea that it's like a hero. I don't know if it's supposed to be a superhero or what, but maybe some more visual elements rather than text. I understand the temptation to add text, but for me personally, I would probably recommend going without it and trying to represent those ideas visually. Alright, so good job, Shadow, and we're going to move on to the next one. This submission is by Jaden Xmod, and this one's definitely dark in a number of ways, not just the darkness theme with some weird, creepy, Herobrine-like shadow creatures, but also it's a very dark image altogether. What I'll say right off the bat is I like the style of this one in terms of there being these like dark, shadowy creatures. All you see is their eyes, and they're kind of just staggered out into the scene, and you know, you're wondering what they're doing, where they're going. And so I really like the intrigue that was included with this one. It's very intriguing. You're kind of wondering what the backstory is. It kind of alludes to maybe a bigger world behind this. Like, what are these creatures? What are they doing? So yeah, I think this was a pretty good one. I would say, you know, there's not a lot of detail here and stuff, but I do think the implications here, that, you know, it's alluding to things happening. There's definitely a cool take on the theme, and it kind of gives it more of a world behind the image than if everything were kind of explained. And the next one that we have here is by Mineshaft Animation. It looks very sad. It looks like we got a pretty disturbing little scene here. He's not happy with himself, it appears. We've got apparently a dead person there. I don't know if that dead person is supposed to be Skibbs. We have the little Skibbs portrait in the background there. Then right there through the window on the right, you can see that the police apparently have arrived and things are not going well. I think he's done murdered somebody. And I don't know if he's upset about murdering the person or if he's upset about getting caught by the police. I like that it tells a story within the image, like something has happened. Just like the first one by Elwin, you know, you have a scene where things have happened and there's implications all over the place. This one is, I think, a bit more potent in its storytelling, in that, you know, someone's obviously been murdered, the person has done it, the police are arriving, you don't know what transpired beforehand or what happened afterwards. And it kind of opens the door, so like I would like to see an animation of this to see what happened, what led up to this, and how it's going to resolve. Also at the note, it's pretty good lighting here, I would say. A lot of the light is coming in from the window on the outside. Maybe a little bit too strong in the blue, maybe. I'm not quite sure about that. Like the lighting is a little bit harsh, but besides that, still pretty strong, and I like the ideas there. And the next one we've got is by Sir Epic Productions. This one's got a pretty basic style to it. We've got just like a Steve here with his torch, and we've got some creepy eyes back there in the background. They're red eyes, so I don't really know if this is supposed to be a scene like directly out of Minecraft or it's taking some liberties on what's actually going on. Maybe it's supposed to be Enderman or something. Definitely some creep factor here. I like the fact that he's, you know, alone by himself with only his torch to light it. Again, I think this is a pretty good use of lighting here in terms of basically just one light source, but it's illuminating our subject well enough and the light is falling off towards the door where you have the red eyes coming through. So definitely keeps your attention and directs you to what's happening in the scene. So good job on that, Sir Epic Productions. Really enjoyed it. It's a very simple scene, maybe not as much to comment on here, but I definitely like what you came up with there. So the next one we have here is by Noble7, and I'm not really sure exactly what's going on in this one. It's definitely got some darkness theme here in terms of just the lighting, but it seems like maybe he's in a graveyard or a tomb or something. What I would say about this one is like maybe there needs to be more of a color scheme. There's torches lighting up the whole scene, but all of the lights are white. And typically, as you'd probably guess, torches should be more of a yellow-orange hue. So the lighting here could definitely be improved, at least just in color, because I get the darkness and the minimal light sources and things like that you're going for. But just adjust the hue of that light, give it some color, add some realism, and then I would say, you know, the camera position probably could use some work. We need a little bit more focus. There's not enough going on here to really draw our attention anywhere in particular or to really show us something that's going on, at least from what I can tell. Either way, nice work, good attempt, and just correct a couple of those things, give people something for their eyes to feast on, and correct that lighting stuff, and you'll be on your way in no time. And our next image is by Just Soup, and this one's a little bit of a creepy, kind of sinister. It reminds me of The Shining when I look at it. I don't know what it is, but there's something about that look of it, you know, with the twins at the end of the hall or something like that. As far as this fitting the darkness theme, it definitely does so in terms of lighting, but there's not much implied here other than the silhouette. Like, this could be a triumphant scene of a character at the end of a tunnel coming out, or it could be a scary scene where there's a person coming into a dark tunnel to see the horrors that lies inside. We don't really know. The mystery, I would say, is probably what kind of fits the darkness theme for this one, is the lighting and everything are kind of directing you to something not being quite right. So I definitely like the mysterious nature of this one. So good work, Just Soup. And we're moving on to the next one, which is by Skincraftix, however you want to say your name. This one's a pretty disturbing one. We've got, I think, a person there who's scared out of their gourd, and there's some fingers and creeping hands coming up towards them. Definitely a creepy, dark theme you got going on there. Overall, I like this one because it's not 100% realistic, and that's not always a bad thing. It's a little bit stylized. The lighting's not 100% realistic, but it gives you like this focus on the character. You've got the other characters there that seem to be creeping up on them with ill intentions. The expression tells you everything you need to know. I would say this is probably one of the more like artistic takes so far from the submissions that we've seen, in terms of just taking liberties with lighting and whatnot to convey an idea and show a scene. You don't really know what led up to this. It seems like maybe he was exploring a creepy castle or something, who knows, and there's some bad people that live there and they've caught up with them. But I would say this one also does a pretty good job of kind of showing you that there's something that led up to this, there's something that's going to happen afterwards. It doesn't quite give you as much you know, as many questions as some of the previous ones that we talked about in terms of like a story being conveyed in the image, but definitely a solid, very well artistically presented image of a basic little scene like that. So good job on that one. Moving on to the next one by Legend MC, we have a very interesting kind of heavily edited shot here of a chair by itself sitting somewhere lonesomely. This definitely has a darkness element to it, and coming straight off of the last one, this is another kind of artistic take on it, which I definitely appreciate. I would say maybe it's a bit too artistic. We have all this stuff on the sides and whatnot. I think maybe just kind of focusing on the scene in the center with the background and the clouds and the weird textures on the screen and the empty chair would definitely kind of make that more powerful without as many distractions around it. But definitely commend the effort here and the artistic vision of portraying a darkness element, because you had this empty chair. It could mean anything. It could mean like someone who used to be there who's not there anymore, or maybe a concept of rest and life and the meaning of life as a whole. You could derive a number of things due to the abstractness of this one, and I think it does have a good kind of pleasing artistic nature to the eye, but could just use a little bit of cleaning up and maybe a little bit more focus. And the next one we got here is by Icy, and this one's pretty interesting because it takes some liberties with the textures. We got kind of a hyper realistic looking scene. We got some zombies and apparently what seems to be a survivor or something. I don't know if he's alive and the zombies are coming to get him, or if he's wounded, or if he's already dead. His eyes are open, so we're gonna assume this is a scene of him being alive and the zombies are creeping up and maybe he can't escape. It's a pretty dark scenario. I really enjoy the lighting in this one though, and it seems to be a little bit more realistic than some of our previous submissions. Of course, with the textures and everything else, that all comes together pretty well. I think it's an overall good package and it illustrates a scene that I think most people would want to see more of. They want to know what happened and what led up to this, and kind of see maybe an animation in the same style with the same, realistic textures and things like that. And our next submission is by Super 10, or Super_10. This one seems much more reliant on the text, of course. It's kind of using the image as more or less a catalyst for the message of the text, by Robin Williams. And if you know the story of Robin Williams in recent history, then that makes the quote all the more potent, as I'm sure you can imagine. As an image though, I would say this one is kind of lacking in some of the artistic and the storytelling nature of some of our previous submissions, but I do think with the text and the quote and everything, it serves its purpose, and I appreciate the effort and the thought that went into this one, so good job on that. The next one we have is by Animation Cow. And this one's definitely very expressive and emotive. We've got the main character there, which I think is his own skin, crying, and we've got some, I don't know what that is, some creepy wide-eyed creature coming up. Got some, it looks like a body over there in the corner. Someone's been murdered mercilessly. Maybe his family member, maybe his mom, according to the photo or whatever that is in the top left side over there. I would say the lighting in this one is actually pretty spot on for the scene. We've got it looks like it's coming through a window. You've got some shadows of window bracings. The only thing I would say though is the picture. I don't know if it's supposed to be a television or what exactly, but the picture is so bright compared to everything else. It comes off as kind of this added on kind of thing, and I think it would be better if it was a little dimmer, maybe bright enough so you could see it. Take some liberties with the lighting, but it's just a bit too bright and a bit too distracting. It kind of seems like something that was added to the image rather than being a part of this actual scene. Finally, we have this image by Tecmo, and it appears to be kind of a limbo style scene here. It's pretty dark. It's hard to see every little thing going on here, but it appears that someone is hanging from a tree and they have very bright eyes. So as a fan of Limbo, I definitely enjoy this one with the artistic style and the darkness and the eyes and everything, but I feel like it's a bit too dark. There's not enough detail to really come through and show you exactly what's going on. It's teetering on the brink there. It is just detailed enough where you can see it, and maybe that's kind of part of the point, but just adding a little bit more detail surrounding the scene here and a little bit more context I think would improve this one. I also would tone back on the sheen on the eyes there, the light rays or whatever you want to call them. They're a bit too much. They're a bit distracting. I don't know if I would say they should be removed entirely, but I definitely think they should be toned down a bit so it's not quite as distracting and sticking out like a sore thumb there. So there you go. Those were all the Darkness Wallpaper competition submissions, and the submissions that I think stood out the most to me in this competition were Animation Cows, Icy's, Mineshaft Animations, and Elwin the Killer Pumpkins. Hopefully I'm getting your names right. I think all those showed a lot of effort into the storytelling and the scene, the set design, and the lighting and everything, and I really like the way they use the elements to try and tell a story with a single image. So good job to all of you guys. Hopefully we'll have another one of these competitions soon, and it won't take me so long to get around it. If you have any tips on how to handle these a little better, if you think maybe this isn't the way to go about doing this, then feel free to let me know in the comments and let me know which one you thought was your favorite, and we'll get on with it, okay? So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh my god. I need a haircut. Give me a break, man. I don't care anymore.